It's time for change to move into the real work of the universe. And it's time to understand that we use the matter state to reach the level of understanding of the soul of the man. Now you understand maybe why the Creator has sent His messengers in the name of whatever you have had. Is that they bring the ears, that it can be used when the time of the Messiah comes. They can teach the soul and the message, not to oppose. But by them understanding through those who have become Messiahs, to give from their souls to these to elevate, the job is made easy. The school is there and the students are devotedly there. Then there won't be any fight between what they call the Muslims and the Christians. The lamb and the lion will eat and sleep in the same nest. The Christians and the Muslims will sleep and pray in the mosque and in the same church in the name of their souls, not in the name of religion that is used to create so much conflict for the benefit of those who were the hyperactive children. The time has come, the time of change is here. And as I said, my wish is my command. If it's your wish to see peace, path of peace is laid very clearly. It's the soul of the collective awareness. By giving will create that position of change. No other thing. There is no pen in the soul of the man. And I'm sure once you go into the universal community, you will never see anything written but the balance of the fields of the soul of the existence. Try to be humble enough not to become arrogant in the power that you have understood and you possess. Otherwise, you'll fall in the same path of the church and the mosque. This is what we promised, and this is what we have delivered. We have to understand the operation of the soul, and we have to understand the soul of the man is a star in the cosmos of the universe. If we compare the soul of the man and many of us, 7 billion in one collection, Earth is like a galaxy with so many stars. When we look in the depth of the universe, we see galaxies with hundreds of millions of stars in it. So is the planet Earth. It carries 7 billion beautiful stars, which are the soul of the man. Carries with it soul of so many trillions of animals, plants, and everything else. So if you look, when someone who does not see the physicality of the earth and its content, what do they see? They see a galaxy with so many beautiful lights shining, each one according to their strength, each one according to their position. An infant has a beautiful soul, so has the old man. To those who do not see the physical dimension of this planet, but they see the strength of the field, we are clusters of stars. The human race, every single soul, no one from a distance sees that's the soul of a fisherman, that's the soul of the cosmologist, that's the soul of a president. They all shine irrespective of the physicality. This is the magic. This is what the new science has to bring to man. When we look through our soul, we see nothing but we star in the other souls. And this is the break. This is the understanding. This is what all these teachings are about. Coming to mature to the next level, to understand in the deep space, the universe is the oyster for those souls who serve. Then man is ready to go into space. Then man is ready to become part of the universal community which has been promised. I never promised you heaven. I always promised you the elevation of the man to join the family. And now you have the key. It's you who has to open the door to understand, if I can raise the soul of these people or millions of other souls, that the physical life on this planet changes, then I'm worthy to be part of the universal community. To be there to serve, to expand. To be there, to be part, that in the cycle of life of universe, I become, in being part, I become part of the totality. When man reaches that point, a new dimension in the strength of the soul of the man will appear, which is beyond imagination of understanding of the physical life. It's the gate to the opening of the new life, in a new dimension, which is beyond imagination of what you might call a new beginning, a new cycle. Which that cycle carries with itself the origin of the creation of life in the universe and in the universe. It's the elevation of the soul to serve become the key, not a throne of the physical life. The time is right. The time has come for the man to go through this process.
Welcome everyone to the 77th One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace for Tuesday, May 21st, 2019. This is a broadcast from the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute and is part of the Public Education in English. I'm your host, Rick Cramen, along with Flint Mulhausen today. And of course, we're joined with Caroline Keshe of the Keshe Foundation. And I believe she's ready to go with directing today's workshop. Is that true, Carolina?
Yes. Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Rick, you have your cup of coffee ready?
I do indeed.
I still have to make mine. I just landed. I welcome all the knowledge seekers for today. Grab a cup of coffee, grab a cup of tea, at least in my area, because we are just getting watered down the whole day. It doesn't stop. It means Mother Nature needs more water, unfortunately. I don't know how are the weather conditions with you, Rick, at
It's
this
the same thing in this part of the world. It's been raining pretty steadily for the last couple of days.
non-stop. Non-stop water. It is amazing. But we have had a tough summer, so the water reservoirs have to be replenished somewhere, somehow. So we have to be a little bit more patient. I just hope it's not going to become a watery spring and then a watery summer. Okay. Anybody, any questions to start the topic? Has anybody noticed something somewhere or wants to bring news or sharing what's going on somewhere else? Anybody? Are we going to have a slow start?
Well, I'll start off just with the water topic that came up, that in spite of the water that's coming from the sky now and rain and so on, they're calling for drought in this area, probably one of the most severe droughts that they've ever had. They expect a big fire season here, and we're starting to get fires already early in the season and so on. There's one town that has to be evacuated because the fires approaching the town at this moment and so on. So even though we may think it's raining, it's actually too dry, and that's part of the way the world seems to be going. With extreme weather conditions, for example, we're getting tornadoes in down south right now in the US, but which is normal for this time of year, but the tornadoes they're getting are quite extreme, and the weather guy was just saying he's never seen such extreme gradient conditions for creating these tornadoes and so on. So he expects there'll be more in the next few days because of the conditions, which are extreme temperature changes and extreme pressure changes and so on that create the tornadoes. So just to say that, as we know, the world is under stress right now, and on a very physical basis, and that's usually a representation of stresses in other areas that are the deeper layers of the fields. So there's that, and of course there's world tensions happening as well with the countries such as the US and Iran currently in conflict and throwing statements at each other of warlike positions and not willing to engage in speaking to the other side and so on and so forth. So we are definitely at a critical juncture at this point in the life of planet Earth. In a way, we're very fortunate to be here to experience these times. On the other hand, it may get rocky in certain parts of the planet, and we've talked about people relocating. For example, some people are considering relocating from their positions on the planet now. Okay, well, enough about me talking. There's Lawrence has his hand up here. So if you want to go ahead there, Lawrence.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Lawrence speaking from Hungary. Long time. I've been not talking to you, but listening. I wanted to share my understanding about these extreme weather phenomena. They are related to how the sun has a low solar activity, and it's connected with the jet stream, because when the sun has a lower activity, the jet stream gets wiggly. When the sun is strong, the jet stream is like a ring, and when the jet stream gets wiggly, it pulls cold air in from the North Pole and creating relatively cool areas. We have snow, for example, in the Alps at the moment. And at the same time, on the other side of this U, it pulls air from the Sahara or from the deserts, from the area close to the equator where there's hot air. And like this, we have extreme heat in the polar regions, where, in Russia, for example. And if you take a look at this whole configuration from above, from the direction of the North Pole, you will see there is a distinct hexagonal shape, just like with the hexagonal shape on Saturn, as we've been talking about. So the jet stream itself displays this configuration. Now it's much more pronounced than when we had the ring-like configuration of the jet stream. And the reason why we have these extreme weathers is because the sun is not so active. That's all I wanted to share.
Thank you for that description.
Isn't it correct, if I may bring you back to Mr. Keshe's teaching, that the sun is its own entity, but it is the position towards Mother Earth and from Mother Earth towards the other planets. It's the change on our planet which is changing the the magnetical and gravitational fields towards or from the sun. It's not the sun that is changing. It's our planet which has changed, and that creates the magnetical fields from the sun. It's not vice versa. The sun can only position itself towards how the earth is interacting. There is a teaching where Mr. Keshe explains this.
Well, what about the other planets of the solar system?
We are a dynamic system, and we are meddling with our planet. The other planets are not getting touched by human beings, as we can see. We are changing the whole environment.
But the weather's changing on all the other planets. They're all warming up. They're all changing. They're all going through extreme events and so on.
Yeah, because we have repositioned ourselves by the change we have done on this planet. In last Thursday teaching, Mr. Keshe, or the teaching before, he explained by taking away just one factor, which he elaborated quite well on it, and we can ask more information about it, is with removing the oil fields, drilling into the oil layers and removing them. They are the blanket of the planet. They absorb most of the heat from our planet. So they keep her in her position. Because of these extractions and all the other things we have been applying to this planet, we are somewhere we are not supposed to be. We are in a different position that was not expected in another million years. So because of our interference with our planet and taking her resources and changing her field strength, which is her natural condition, by drilling and emptying and replacing, we have changed our position. So in reality, we are the creator of the change. Now we understand, it's been the first time that it has been explained, what an impact it has not only on our planet, but of course, the other planets are repositioning themselves with and through our planet. We have not been drilling on the moon, we have not been drilling on Mars, nor even on the sun, but we have changed our composition of our own planet. And that's why Mr. Keshe said it is drastically more than time to stop taking the layers away, which are needed to keep the planet in position. You can go to the teaching, he explained it, and maybe more, if you like, on next Thursday, we can ask Mr. Keshe to explain more, because I was about to ask the question yesterday in the ethos teaching, because they're drawing a clear overview of what we have done to our planet in the last few years, more intensively than before, to give man in the future a better idea, especially our children. That is creating the awareness where they can find the correct information, why it is in the state it is, and where they can intervene, because we will debrief them. We will make sure that the knowledge is out there for them to do their research and find all the information about it. But I got cut off because my network wasn't balanced, and then I forgot to re-ask the question to the team that is working on that topic about the ethos, is to see and search in NASA, in their files, if they have any documentation on how our position has changed, if they have noticed it, even as what Mr. Keshe is explaining, that we are going too fast, too close in orbit towards our twin sister universe. And if they have an image of that, because it would be very nice, and I said to the team, if you don't find it, ask Mr. Keshe on Thursday morning to elaborate on it. He will be more than happy to open it up more so that our research is more accurate. So we don't change the sun, but we have changed our planet, and our planet has changed the whole. It's like a magnet, huh? Don't forget, you put yourself as a magnet on the table. You change your magnet, all the magnets around you are changing. It's not that the other planets have changed their condition or have done something to themselves. We have interfered with Mother Earth, and she has and is repositioning herself. And because of all of this, that's why Mr. Keshe says, when you have this, then you get natural events in the change. And it has happened before, and it will happen again. And maybe we're going to go through a phase like this. And that's why Mr. Keshe is calling up, don't wait till it is 5 to 12 to start moving, but start moving now, because it's time. And people are getting ready to relocate. I would love for people to take charge of that, to create a line somewhere, like a lifeline, that they can get information. They can, other knowledge seekers who want to participate or help or support in any shape or form, for the ones that want to move. If it is legal advice or international advice or traveling documents, or what is needed to be available. As we always work as knowledge seekers, we support one another because we are one family. So the knowledge seekers that want to make that change, that want to make that move, that they can call out if they need support, and that the ones which are there and say we have enough, we have too much, we can share, we can support, that they can put their offers on the table as well, so that it is a vice versa interaction of knowledge seekers on free basis, of course, and any help will be welcome. And Mr. Keshe was very direct in the directions of where. And we have had the previous teachings of Mr. Keshe, where he explains in very large detail. Some people say, yeah, it hasn't happened. I say, thanks God it hasn't happened, because you all had more time to prepare. So if there are any knowledge seekers in the classrooms or in the private teachings, that want to set up like they did for the SOS for Italy. They did the same for Standing Rock. Now it is for the knowledge seekers themselves that want to move away from the dangerous areas. Anybody, any questions? I tried to open this topic since last Monday. It has gone like a wave through the foundation. I could feel the emotion of a lot of knowledge seekers, but not many people are finding the confidence, or I don't know, I can't put a word on it, or I don't understand why there is such a silence. Because the signs are all over the place. He started first with saying that there are earthquakes happening in zones where there should be no earthquakes. There are at a period or a time frame there should be no earthquakes. So something is on the move. The weather all over the place is not as it's normal. It is in extremes because they called it an Antarctic wave going through the whole of Europe, which is very unusual because Europe is more or less always with the 4 seasons quite stepped on time. Now we're mid-May and we still have 7-8 degrees. We have a lot of rain, we have snow. It doesn't stay, but it's not normal. And as Mr. Keshe has explained, it will be too late when it starts. We will have no more reaction time. It will go too fast. The rest of the events will then unfold over years, he said, but the initial event will start at a cracking point somewhere.
Hello, Caroline.
Yes.
This is Lawrence again.
Yes, Lawrence.
We know of this geographical issue. They've known it. It's overdue for about 80 years now that it happens, and it will come because it's in the geographic record of the Earth that there have been changes at that spot. But in regards to the weather, I don't think humanity is directly to blame. If you remember the fairy tale of Mother Hulda, you know, where the seasons got changed and messed up, it's in our consciousness that we know about these changes. They happen from time to time, from centuries to centuries, and they, I would say, can be called normal. What is abnormal is how we behave to our own environment and to Mother Earth. We are, with the oil business and the gas business, we are constantly bloodletting, and it's the same change of magnetic field as when someone dies. When someone dies, as Mr. Keshe explained, the blood circulation releases the soul. So whenever we are meddling with the constantly reproducing blood of the earth, the oil fields, we are constantly meddling with the magnetic fields. It's absolutely unacceptable. But it all boils down to humanity not understanding how matter is being constantly created. So it's, and I think it,
when Mr. Keshe, when you say we are overdue, I can only say, thanks God we're overdue. Thanks God for so many, and because if it would have already happened, then I don't think ever that the Keshe Foundation would have been in the ability to establish. If you listen to Mr. Keshe's, I think it's 4 or 5 teachings back, or maybe 6, he says how do you think, if we would have not have interfered in stimulating and bringing the knowledge faster forward, that you would have been able for me to talk to you in a room where the totality of the world population can listen to? They all can tune in to YouTube. They can all tune in into live stream or Facebook or whatever is at their position to be able to log in. If it would have happened when Mr. Keshe said, that's 3 years ago, we would have been withhold from the totality of the information that needed to be spread, needed to be taught. Mr. Keshe keeps on saying, I'm nearly coming to the totality of the knowledge. He will elaborate in different, let's say, sidearms to understand more and bring more depth into what he has brought as a totality. I always say, bless the time that we still have to be free and to sit comfortable and enjoy the time of learning. Because when it would have happened at the time span that they say it's overdue, there is a reason for it. The reason is, look what we have established in the last 5 years. The knowledge has gone from what, 2, 3 knowledge seekers to millions of knowledge seekers, and it's spreading every day. Why do you think the purpose is for that? Is on soul level, first of all, and secondly, on physicality level. The changes are going faster and faster because we're wishing for them. We are creating new conditions, but we have just learned how to do it. And you say you cannot blame the whole of humanity, but if you listen to what you just explained, everything is related to humanity. We are unaware and we are learning. It's a learning process. Mr. Keshe said you don't need to justify what you have done. Just reposition yourself and start fresh. Because today is existing not yesterday nor tomorrow. But what you effectively are deciding today will change the path. And that's what we're all working so hard for, through governments, through our media, through our social network, through our teachings, to connect with so many others. Because if that event happens, the whole planet will take, what we say, a whack of it. It's not only going to stay in that zone where it is actually happening. It's going to spread, it's going to disturb a lot of things. You just have to imagine the lines. If you go to that teaching, it's the 101, and I don't remember, but maybe Flint can repost them for people who want to go and look at it again. You have volcanoes in those paths. Flights will be impossible because of the dust plumes. Communication satellites might not be able to, we might even lose contact with you on the other side of the world. It might be for a few weeks, it might be for a few days, it might be for a few months. That's why we are making sure that everyone, as a knowledge seeker in his own area, has been requested to start building up stock and teaching material. And if we lose contact with one another, that they can carry on. They don't need, they have no dependence. They can become completely independent of sharing the knowledge. Because if you understand through the agriculture what has been released, and if you have exercised it in your own garden, you know that the plants will thrive because of the CO2 waters. They are producing, it doesn't matter if it's dry, it doesn't matter if it's freezing. So you will not be depending on the weather conditions for you to be able to grow your vegetables. So what do you already in that kind of condition, which is about to come, can prevent, you can provide your family with food. The MAGRAPH systems, the blueprint is out. Whoever has printed it, there are a lot of knowledge seekers who have copied it. That is your energy supply. And with the last teachings, when Mr. Keshe elaborated more on the MAGRAPH system, you will be able to find your way. You can produce your own generator. So even on medical, just look what has already been shared on knowledge. So if the knowledge seekers are working in teams all over the planet, we can support one another, and we can always stay in touch through the soul level. It's instant. You receive what we send, and vice versa. It's not to go dark and sad. No, it's actually a beautiful thing that we are getting more time, because we can expand more knowledge, we can bring it on more people, and then you will thrive. You don't need to be dependent. That's exactly Mr. Keshe's point, for you to understand that you're an individual and you have been receiving the knowledge to be able to pass it on to so many others. If you download them and save them in a safe place, you can always go back to them. If you have made notes, don't leave everything online to be excessive, because you might lose that connection. But that should not be a burden. If you know that you can protect your data, you can start making survival kits, first aid kits. You can teach other people, whether you're in the zone or you're not in the zone. It's all up to you. We leave you with the decision. We can only share the knowledge with you. And that's not a cause or a creation of creating panic or anything. We can do it all very calm, but together. And the children are more than aware. If you have looked at that Swedish girl, when was it? I think it was last year. She's only in her 10, 11, 12 maybe. She speaks very direct to the committee about environmental. They say we don't want anymore. So the children are already ahead of us. But you need to give it time for it to embed in the understanding, the why and the how. We're getting there. Any more questions?
Well, thank you, Carolina. Good words there. We have Mark with his hand up. Go ahead, Mark.
Yes, is my audio okay?
It's not very good audio, but go ahead.
Okay. Rick, you brought up the idea of a drought and so on, and I worked theoretically on a project which was created in the 1960s called NWAPA, which is the North American Water and Power Alliance. And again, this is in the Matter State. And the idea was to capture billions of gallons of runoff from the glaciers and so on up in the North Pole and run it down through the valleys, creating hydroelectric power and towards California, because California was a desert and then it got green and it grows half of the food for the country and so on. Aquifers are being drained. This would refill the aquifers and also into northern Mexico and hydrate that whole area, which then the clouds pick up the water and so on. So that was one idea in the Matter State. But again, then maybe that fresh water, that sweet water, what they call, was made to go into the ocean as far as the planet goes. And we shouldn't capture it and turn it into electricity and so on. Now, I wanted to ask, so there's ways to hydrate things, but whether that tinkers more with the same problem, not sure. So, yesterday we were talking about the planet, and we were talking about creating cavities in the planet by removing the gold or the copper or the oil and so on. And Mr. Keshe said, and I'm equating that to, let's say, organs in the body of the man. So, because it's different fields. So Mr. Keshe says, when you remove organs from the body, the organ is gone, but the field is still there and the body can regrow it back. Now, just an idea. So then I was thinking, and I brought it up yesterday to Carolina, but we've been creating voids in the earth through taking out the sweet water, as well as the oil and the gold, for our consumption. How are we going to tell people that the water in these aquifers from the last glaciation is sacred and the planet needs it? I know we can manufacture water using like nuclear power, and I believe with the Keshe technology, also water is a byproduct of certain, just like Mr. Keshe said, we can show you to make protein or oil or whatever you'd like. So are we not going to touch the sweet waters of the earth? Because that's part of the planet's lifeblood? And we just make our own water for our farming and our consumption. Just some ideas I thought I'd throw out for possible discussion.
I can give you already one solution. Maybe it has skipped a lot of people's attention. I've been asking for a long time for the knowledge seekers, and most probably Vernie will bring it on the table tomorrow, actually, in my private teaching, the solution how to deal with the plastic problem. I am 100% sure where you are that there is plastic available. Mr. Keshe gave a warning out. He gave you a tip. He said, when you start finding the solution for the plastic, you're going to have to deal with the water. So you don't need to touch anything except applying the knowledge. I want to have a blueprint for the solution for plastic, because once you found out how it works and you teach it very fast, we can pass the blueprint of your idea to Mr. Keshe and see if it is correct in the whole process, that he can give his okay, that it is a blueprint, that it can go through the Keshe Foundation. You will be producing water. So there are no worries, at least not even with the drought. Even if you are attracting CO2, let's say you want to do a cleanup of the environment, you produce water. So in the overall time of the whole span of the 5 years, you can pick up where Mr. Keshe drops information. But it's for us to find the solution. Or you bring it on the table to work it out with Mr. Keshe on Thursdays to make it complete. Or to create a request to Mr. Keshe, can we have the blueprint, please? Because let's say, as you say, we are going into a drought, how to deal with the plastic that we can convert it, that we can produce water. And you have your solution. So Mr. Keshe always says, I give you everything is for you to understand the parts to start working with it. He also mentioned something very specific in the last Thursday teaching when I asked him again, although he already explained quite a lot of it, with the magraphs. He has given you a lot of tips there, how to create your own generator, how to be self-sufficient, but not only on physicality, but also on your soul level. he explains exactly where you can position your soul and what to do with it.
And,
yes.
sorry. Oh,
No,
no, continue on. No, and the other idea that just came to me, Carolina, was not only are we creating cavities, but they're taking some of these old salt mines and they're taking, let's say, highly radioactive materials, and they're putting them inside this cavity. So that's also got to have create some sort of imbalance or something. Because that's a lot of radiation.
It sounds like radiation therapy for humans.
Caroline posted a link sometime on Facebook that we should put some drops of CO2 and CH3 against water in our palm and let it dry on air. And then we would have our feeding station if we're in the middle of it. You remember that post, Caroline?
Yes, sure, because I got bombarded with questions of panic. Some knowledge seekers are still frightened, or the translations have not taken progress fast enough that they can catch up with the more recently released knowledge. That is that if we water the plants with CO2, we take baths in CO2. I wash animals with it. I give it for them to drink when they have a condition which is unacceptable, that they are suffering. People are applying the CO2 plasma waters, not the CO2, not the gases themselves, but the top layer of the waters, and they are safe. But you have to inform yourself through the knowledge, go and do your search, and if you have questions, you can ask them. You can find a lot of information on the Wikipedia. That's the reason, that's a source where you can go to find so much knowledge and understanding if you don't want to rely on others, if you're not 100% sure. That, how is this possible? We are not supposed to touch CO2. We are not supposed to drink CO2. There is panic here. I said there should be no panic. And I give, what, 10, 15 different posts which have gone public everywhere. People are using, answering, questioning, giving answers. And there is a fear, especially among the Portuguese-speaking people. So that means that there is a need of more translation. And I said, because that was the reaction on to put some CH, you take 3 gases. It's CO2, it's zinc, and it's CH3. You shake your bottle, that the gases are floating around in the water. You only need to take a few drops of those 3 and you put them in, let's say, the right palm of your hand. You close your hand on top like a folding, and you just let it dry. And then you go outside and you open your hands towards the universe. You receive all the energy when you call up on it. And I got such a fearful reaction that people are going panicking that they cannot touch. Yes, you can, but know what you do and how you do it. And this was very elaborated. It was very nicely explained, because Mr. Keshe, even in the recent teaching, he said, and we should know, because we only consume 20% of our energy through what we eat. The rest we are absorbing through our skin and through our breathing. That's why when you have somebody who's burned 90% of their body surface, is very difficult to keep them alive, because the skin, the body can't feed itself because of the burn surface of the skin. It cannot function normally. Some do make it, but it's a very high risk factor. So you can imagine if you put the gases in your water and you go outside, a few drops only. I'm not talking about pouring water in your hands. You just step outside and you become the receiver. You become like an antenna and you attract what you need, because the fields are forever passing through us and you absorb what you need. That's why when we go to the cup of life, the rain carries the information from the field strength from right across the universe. And you just, the water is just like a donkey. You use the water like a donkey to transport the water into your body. But you can become the transporter yourself. And you just are making by handling through the matter state. But even when you go with your open hands and you stand in the nature and you open your hands, you will receive whatever you need, whatever you ask for, that shall be given. But you got to ask for it. So we have taught in the matter state, as Mr. Keshe said, for it to grow, to then to go into the soul level. And we very slowly, in different parts of teachings, we are switching over and we are trying to remind not to stay in the matter state, but to go into the field strength. Like when you put your hands in a bucket of water, salt water, you can produce your gases. Or sit with your feet, because your skin is a nano layer. Your body composition is in a GAN state. These are all things that we can try. Thank you for bringing that back within the hand. That happened 2 years ago. And I also reposted a call to release the plasma water, CO2 and zinc and CH3 in the rivers and the fountains. Let them glow, let them travel, let them touch so many more. Because you touch the nature, you touch the fish, you touch everything, you touch human beings. And they are connected with you. Because you're the releaser, you're the giver. Anybody, any questions?
We have Like with his hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, Caroline, can you hear me?
Sure, I can.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. What is the idea behind you mix the three gases, not the water portion, but the gases, when you take them, mix them together, and then you put it in your arm? Is that what I heard? I'm not.
No, I take from each GANS a few drops.
Okay.
You can start with just CO2 and zinc, and you can do only CO2, or you can use CO2, zinc, and CH3, but I take from each one, like with a small pipette or a syringe. I just suck up a few drops from each one. I shake and I put them in the palm of my hand.
Okay.
Let them dry, and then I stand outside.
Okay. Got it.
Anybody, any share?
Okay, I was just going to remind the attendees they can put their virtual hand up in the Zoom chat here, and then we can allow you to talk. And if you're a panelist, you can go ahead. Okay, we have Dan. Okay, Dan, go ahead.
Okay, good morning, everybody. My question is, when I release the field of every guns where I make, What is for understanding how it's work the guns, because it's forbidden touching matter of guns, no?
No, it's not forbidden. It's just
It's for
the
understanding.
the field strength is too strong. You get too much energy. It's not forbidden. If you come in touch with it, you're not gonna die.
I know, because every time I play with my hand, my fingers in the guns, in different shape. If you dry, or it's moisture, or it's water when it's shaking. I like making my hand. I taste uh, this
Yeah,
for my proper responsibility, but I like it. It's, I know one Mr. Keshe say never touch the gas. I think it's about when it's purified the water from dirty water, no different material. What when you don't know what is inside, but when you know what field it's inside, CO2, copper oxide, CF3, or zinc oxide. Personally, I like playing with GANs. I feel
that
good.
that's no problem because you extract a huge amount of field strength from it. We advise it because if you take the top layer, you get the same amount of energy. You don't need to touch your ganses because that is also an advice for people not to lose their ganses. And the more experienced knowledge seekers, you're at home, you're free to, but we can only give you guidelines. I always, it's 3 years or 4 years ago now when I was in Barletta, when I said to, I burned my hand very badly. It was really stinging. And I was working in the lab. So I just turned around and I had a bucket with CO2 gans with a huge layer of water on top of it. It was no longer in process. The plates were no longer there. It was a finished bucket. It was still salt water, but I put my hand in it. And within 10 minutes, I could use my hand again. So a lot of people have shown for what purpose they can apply and where. We are just strongly advising do not drink the ganses because they are just too strong for you. The energy is way too heavy. Use the water, use the top layer.
Well, our bodies are ganses as well. So whenever we hug somebody or we cuddle, or whenever we are stroking our pets and things like that, we're touching ganses. So whenever we eat food, it's a form of gans. A carrot is gans, meat is gans. So it's not magic. It's just another name for something that we've been. It's a scientific name for something. The ganses themselves. The ganses themselves. Mr. Keshe explained to us. Alex has shown us the technology. It's the field transfer. We don't even need to touch the ganses. Just by being around the ganses, we are receiving the fields. And the feeding station we've been talking about is about the liquid plasma, only the water. We don't even need to have ganses, visible ganses. You should wait until they settle once you mixed the solution, and then only use the liquid plasma, the water part, because the water carries the fields if we want to be so material. But in the end, it all boils down to the field transfer, giving love. Ganses are love containers.
Yes, but you cannot say that a carrot is already in GANS state because when we eat a carrot, we change from the matter state into a GANS state. For us to be able to take the field strength from the carrot, but it is not in a plasma state, it's in matter state. It carries all its fields within, but we are the converters because we chew it. Any food we take to us, or mouth, or teeth, or saliva, is converting it into the GAN state. You don't eat a GAN's carrot, but you can do the field transfer to the GAN's waters, as we explained before. And Mr. Keshe said it's not a complete way. The most complete way is the cup of life, the nano-coated copper cup that you nano-coat, and then you collect the rainwater, and that is a feeding station of the nearly the totality. You still are breathing, and you're still breathing through your skin to balance the fields, what the cup is not collecting. But please be accurate when you chew, when you eat an apple or a carrot or a salad or a piece of meat, you are the converter. That it becomes in a GAN state for you to be able to receive the field strength from it.
You're right, I agree, with the addition that originally that carrot has been a container for a soul as well.
Yes.
So when it was the container for a soul, it was in the GAN's state. We killed it to be able to eat it.
Yes, that's why Mr. Keshe is trying to persuade, with all the knowledge that has been taught, especially in the last few weeks, that you can create feeding stations that you can slowly step back from killing. But then what I brought up yesterday in the soul teaching was, if you want to be very specific and you want to be very accurate, it's not only your food consumption, which is a problem. I said, just look around your house and see what items are around you. Because that conversation started quite a few years ago with Mr. Keshe, and it was about coffee. He said, Caroline, don't even start because it is impossible for you even to get there. And I said, what do you mean? He says, one day I will explain. And that explanation came quite recently, because just look at your feet. If you're wearing shoe wear and your leathern jacket and your porcelain and your glassware and your wooden doors and your wooden table and all the objects you have, the cotton, your clothes, the wool in your jumpers, something had to die for us to obtain that matter state for us to be able to use it. So now you try to not only to step away from consuming food, you also have to start stepping away from all what is surrounding you, because it had an original place where it came from an existing matter. So it's not only the food you need to feel awkward about, it is a lot of things that we slowly will, in the learning process and development process, to start stepping away, because glass is made of sand. Sand is existing. You just go and look around.
I would be much more rude and say that even when we breathe, we're eating the body remains of oxygen plasmas and all the other creatures that are created at the bottom of the atmosphere. The air we breathe is also, we are bottom eaters, so they are shed skins of beings that are living in the higher regions of the atmosphere. So even the air we breathe is just also a result of death, even though it's not directly us that's doing the killing in this respect.
That's one of the only things we cannot stop, and that is breathing, Mr. Keshe said. The rest we can manage. Somewhere, somehow, we will be able to create homes which brings me back to the OASIS system. That means that you can create the shielding, that you can be warm. You can create the shielding for clothing, that you don't need to wear clothes or cover your body, so that you don't need to obtain skin and matter state from other parts to cover your body. We will go through that very slowly. It's a progressing evolution, and the OASIS system is the prime part to start. And in the past, I asked Rick to bring that picture up from the OASIS, because there you can receive warm, you can receive heat, you can do cooking, you can have shelter against the elements. You can produce water. You can produce so much on demand, but we have to learn how to interact with the system. We have to learn how to develop it. Just the same as I've been asking for so many knowledge seekers to find a solution for plastic. That's your water production. Because you have an overproduction on plastics, we're going to have to clean it up. And I think it's a very good idea to convert it into water for the places where they are in a shortage of it at this given moment. So we can help one another in a lot of ways, but we have to connect with the knowledge and share the knowledge. And I hope Vernie will come back with the solution for it. Mr. Keshe has given a lot of tips about the MAGRAF, about the conversion of the plastics, but I don't see the blueprint appearing. But it will appear when the time is right. We don't need to touch glaciers. We don't need to dig in the soil to find solutions. We can, by cleaning up our own. And my point was with the gentleman who brought the problem with the radioactive material up, go back to the teaching of Fukushima. Mr. Keshe has given you the answer to decontaminate. He said nowhere on earth they would have been able to release the waters back into the ocean if it was so heavily contaminated. He said they cleaned it, they extracted what? Gold and all the rare materials from it, from that contaminated water. And they could release it because it was clean. Our team was there. We were all live in that teaching. Go back to it. You will even find the solutions for that part. There is not a shortage of knowledge. It's just accumulated and bring it back onto the table to see where the knowledge seekers have problems with certain topics. We can work it out. Anybody, any sharing or knowledge to share or questions?
Flint's brought up that Oasis project picture there. Thank you, Flint. So I was desperately looking for it. And that gives the overview of the various aspects there. We have on the lower left is the very nice image of what that could look like in a remote location. You can imagine having a unit that's basically, you can go camping anywhere, and go camping might mean you're a refugee somewhere, or it might mean you're doing it recreationally, or it might mean you're doing it because you have to. You become a migrant and have to travel from one place to another. And if you had a unit with you that could provide your heat, your light, your cooling, your cooking, your water supply, both hot and cold, and could help decontaminate and actually create the conditions around you that you needed, no matter where you were on this planet, or maybe off planet as well. It would be like your I think we would consider such a unit our friend. It would be something that we would rely on, and the kind of thing we would probably call it one of our favorite names, because it would be so sustaining, so rejuvenating, and just there for our survival.
The only thing that Mr. Keshe has not put in there, because the time was not right, because he explained when this came in development and being drawn to be published, he said, yeah, it will even create a shielding from whatever is happening underneath you, and whatever is happening on top of you, you will be like in a cocoon. It will shield as well. I said, why didn't you put it? He says, people are not ready yet. We have to wait. So now we are 5-6 years later, and now we can add this to this topic of the oasis.
Well, that's a really good point, Carolina, because even as I was looking at this picture and reading it, rereading it now, you're right. There's no indication here of the shielding idea, or the actual, that protective bubble around the oasis thing to start with. And even though the reactor's there in the center and it shows some rays coming off and so on, and even though the teaching is that the fields extend beyond the walls of the reactor and all of that, it's not put in here at all. It seems to be even deliberately kept out. Interesting. Yes, things have changed in the last few years.
Yeah, it has been kept deliberately, because at that time, Mr. Keshe said it in a very nice way. He said, you want me to be locked up, he says. You want them to call me a lunatic? He says, in time, it will be revealed. Now you know that your magraphs can do this. Your magraphs or the oasis. He says, I have given you everything. It's just, what have you accepted that you have at your disposition? Not only that, he really went into detail last week about the magraphs. You need 2. And I'm going to leave it to the knowledge seekers and let it bubble up for a few more weeks to see if they're going to come up with their findings, and most probably make a blueprint out of it, that they have achieved their power generator, as they call it. But actually, you should call it your oasis system, because it will give you what Tom Salas has established on Dominica. So the people that are completely are going to get flooded under, I don't think it's a wise idea to stay in the place where this is about to happen, or whenever it happens. I say every day, if it isn't today, we have more time. I bless the time you have more to develop and to be ready for it. So the more time is given, the more we will acquire knowledge to progress faster. And that is the beauty of it. Nobody wants it to happen yesterday, because we would not be sitting and talking today. So I bless every minute that this is extended to another time, so that we can progress more in our knowledge and bring it to more knowledge seekers. There are a lot of people waking up because we are reaching them, especially for the knowledge seekers that are about to go traveling. Summertime is coming, the holidays are coming, they're a few weeks away, that the children are home. Take your Gans waters with you and be very generous with them, towards nature, towards your environment, towards the fountains and the rivers, and bless them. We're all interconnected, but we make it a stronger band. Bless it with your beauty of giving. Anybody else? Any questions? Or sharing news somewhere? Or does anyone have any ideas how to set up a communication line for knowledge seekers that want to move? It would be nice, a nice idea, maybe to go on the Wikipedia, if that you feel comfortable enough to put your location near enough you that we can start seeing knowledge seekers appearing on the world map. It would be nice to map ourselves out, that people know where to go and where to find you, or near enough. It would be nice to map the knowledge seekers worldwide out, to have a visual view where you are as a knowledge seeker. If you feel safe to do so, and if you're confident enough to do so. They did it per country. A few countries have mapped out, but that's a long time ago. And I think we have to refresh. And it would be nice to map it out worldwide. Anybody, any ideas or sharing from any of the council members? It's gonna stay silent.
Well, I know Peggy has some ideas that she probably would like to express, but she's also can't speak right now, so we'll have to wait on that. She's in a position of, I believe she needs to move actually, so she's looking for a better position to be in. She had some great ideas about starting a reserve kind of place, an oasis of sorts for people to go to relax in nature and to help preserve that part of the world as well. I believe that was in the Midwestern US. Yeah, Jalal with his hand up here. Go ahead, Jalal.
Yeah, hello everyone. Hello Rick. Hello Caroline.
Hi, Jalal.
Hi. I noticed in the last teaching of Mr. Cash, he asked the UC members and the knowledge seekers to send the messages in the Facebooks and all this media about what's going to happen and how the the knowledge process by Iran and China with the new development.
Say
I didn't
again.
see. Say again.
Yes, can you repeat, please?
From beginning.
Yes.
Okay. Hello, Rick. Hello, Caroline.
Hi, Jalal. How are you doing?
Hi. Welcome.
Okay. I noticed that in the teaching of Mr. Cash, he asked the knowledge seekers and the UC members, as part of them, that they send their messages outside in the media, as Facebook and all this media stuff. to start notify the people of the new settlement, I think we can call it, between Iran and China to progress in the space technology. And he inviting all these scientists to it. But I didn't see until now any messages is out.
Yeah, I started to compose a message as such, but I wanted to get it approved by Mr. Keshe first before it goes out.
You know, we are shortage of time, eh?
Well, we're never short. It's what we get done today that counts. We are never short in time. Never get, we are not short. We have all the information we need. It's just, when are you going to act upon it? That's when the change comes. I used an example very recently with the situation, and I think I shared it in my private teaching. I said, if you don't understand the part of that you're a creator and what your capabilities are, I give an example that most probably everybody is related to or knows about it, how it works and how it gets done, is that consider yourself as an architect. You won a big prize to design a beautiful building, and you can choose that building to look like whatever you want. You have received the land, the permission where it's going to be located, and how big it can be. So what does an architect start doing from that point when he receives such an invitation? If he says yes, he starts designing it in his head. He starts drawing exercises on the map, how on the paper, how he would like to see it. He does research in how he wants to express himself so beautiful in that building that he can make it his choice. Now, you all know that the architect has to start the planning out of everything. The weight, the height, the depth, all the details have to be precise. Because when his folder of design is finished, he has to pass it on to the constructors. If he has done his work and it is correct, then it will become a beautiful building. We have so many beautiful buildings right across the world. We admire them. We admire them for their beauty and their extreme difference. Now, that is you as a creator. Work like an architect. Map out what you want, how you want it. Change it when you see that you have not quite right yet, but believe in your project how you want it. And that's how you will change your whole environment step by step, because you stay steady in your development, in your creation. If an architect can put it in a drawing and then he can hand it to somebody else to be realized, he still is responsible for what he created. If you consider yourself as a creator, I think this is one of the easiest ways to understand how you can start mapping out your life and how detailed you have to go into and how steadfast you have to be for that building to be able to appear, that you can construct it. I passed this information on very recently to children because they're in a learning process and they don't see where they're not creating the right way, and then they get a conflict with themselves. I said, just be an architect. Develop it in your head exactly how you want it.
Well, Carolina, we do have an architect here that would like to speak. Estella, would you like to go ahead?
Good morning, everybody.
Hi, Stella.
So, anybody's a creator. I saw my daughter. She's incredible. What people don't realize is the vision, the whole concept, the main idea, what you want, your desire, is your vision. And in any project, if you're really a sensitive person, you start to make a list of the important points that you are, your intentions, what is important for the creator in any project. So you make a list, and then you see your resources, your context, physical context, and emotional context, everything. You have to make a list what is important to you in order to address the problem or the solution. And then sometimes you cannot solve everything in one day, but the brain keeps working and it's in your mind. And out of the blue, you come up with a solution. And that's how you start building your project. But until you don't have the structure, what is the core that supports your project, you don't have a project. So the structure is important because that's what's going to make you, the important main points, or the physical structure, or the important in this case would be the fields, or the gangs that support the environment. So architecture is not only buildings. I was listening at the health class, and I can see in the human body there is incredible architecture, especially in the bones, and can be related to a building. It's our body as a building. So we can design anything with the same, something is solid, strong. So I just want to add that nature also teaches a lot. We can observe and we can come up with ideas from nature. So for those that don't know how to visualize or come up with ideas, that's a fear base, because we can look and observe in nature, and you're going to find a solution in front of you. So there is no limitation. It's just doing it, you find solutions. And I'm probably the one who maybe I experience more limitations than anybody, but I just have to say, it's like the kids, you need to keep trying until you walk. But anyway, love you all.
Thank you, Stella. We had a couple of questions from YouTube, from Persia 7030. Please, can you explain the water plasma that Mr. Keshe right now is producing in Ghana for resolving the cancer and diabetes? Is that the same water that stands over GANs? Basically, yes. Yes would be the answer to that. It's called the plasma water, or the water like Carolina was describing. That is the water that sits above the GANs once it's settled out. And it's a special process that Mr. Keshe developed for Ghana. I don't know if we want to get into more detail about that. There's another question from Awamda. Is it possible that man has the technology to control the weather? I do know that Mr. Keshe has talked about that before, and about controlling the weather, and the downside of that being that if one person is going to control the weather in one area, it'll change the weather in another area and another area. And it's be very hard to know about the side effects that if you, for example, even creating an oasis, if it pushes the storm away, perhaps it will push it into somebody else's area, that kind of thing. So we have to be careful what we wish for in terms of controlling the weather, and that it may not be such a great idea to this idea of control, at least through the plasma technology.
Rick, we could add up also what is good weather for one can be bad weather for somebody else.
Yeah, exactly what I was saying. And also, mankind has been trying to control the weather since day one, basically, with everything from shamans to cloud busting airplanes, where they spray the clouds in order to make it rain in certain areas that are dry. And they've been doing that since they had airplanes, basically in the 1920s and 30s. Anyway, that's probably out of the realm of our program today. Go ahead.
I think, Rick, that we should bring, in the light of what Jalal said, and with what you started, this one planet, one race, one nation, I think we should bring the wish list up. And I think we're going to have to work on a wish for the relationship between Iran and USA, or vice versa, USA towards Iran. I think that will be more appropriate. We can do so much on soul level. It is steaming up, as you all have seen in the media. Now, what is our wish as knowledge seekers in regard of this? How would we create the wish in the best light in what we want it about to come? Anybody, any idea?
I've been thinking about this because I read something in the internet, and I think evolved people, evolved beings, so humans, you will never have a confrontation or like a try to show your power with the distraction, like you're stronger. I just wish we all have able to communicate in a peaceful way and reach, a common position of peace and it's a give and take, and try to co-create in a same space without distraction ways, like could be a war. Nobody wins, everybody lose. And a win-win situation would be to have a heart intelligent communication, where we can all live in the same space without confrontation.
Yes.
I was going to say, excuse me, Carolina. May I speak?
Yeah, don't worry.
Okay. I missed that.
We just started at the same time, that's all.
Thank you. our government, under the Eisenhower administration, I believe had a program with Iran called Atoms for Peace. And if we could take in our wish some of the better aspects of that program of cooperation and collaboration among the nation states, that could be incorporated into our wish.
What was the wish of Mr. Keshe? The wish is, and we can put it that way, that then it will take place because we are the creators of it, that Iran, Israel, and the United States will accept or accepting the invitation of Mr. Keshe to come to China and be part of the spaceship program. Then we ignore and don't put fuel on the other plants. We just ignore them. We just fuel and give a lot of food to something that is much more fruitful than anything else. We confirm the acceptance of the invitation for a peaceful space program between all those nations. We bring them on the table because it's our wish. Don't you think it would be a better step to avoid what we don't want in existence? We don't feel what we don't want in existence.
I have a question. I don't follow everyday news, so I heard that Trump is attacking Iran with very strong words, but I don't know why this is happening suddenly. I don't see any reason for it. Can somebody enlighten us, maybe?
Yes, his advisors are pushing him because they're these warmongers, and they're trying to. The president said he does not want a war with Iran, but sometimes people around you can egg you on or push you on, or for whatever reasons create a disinformation that's picked up, as we've seen, to try to break the collaboration between the United States and Russia by saying Russia has influenced the elections, like so many other countries haven't, and obviously they haven't, but I know our country has. We have active programs in influencing elections.
Can you bring your microphone a few microphones, please?
Yeah, your microphone's very loud, Mark, and it's very distorted at the same time. It sounds very kind of distant.
I'm going to go on a different system.
Okay, that sounds good.
But I understand, and that's a very good question. I am so glad that you asked that question. What does Iran have that no other country has yet? You have already the answer. So within that sits your answer why they want to go in there. What does Iran have that, let's say, United States doesn't have yet?
Yes, I thought of that. Thank you. But if this is the case, they should be more careful in USA, don't they?
No. You can answer, please. What do they have that the United States doesn't have?
Okay. They are a very peaceful society, and they have a specific position on Earth as well. And they have a spaceship program, which is far more ahead of those we know of USA.
And what is that spaceship program? What has Mr. Keshe explained to us so many times? He's been in Iran. They have had the first flight in Iran. And they are using the knowledge and the technology, and they are crossing borders. So what is the United States then after? Well, actually, it can be given in freedom and in peaceful way and in a friendship way.
Yes, I think Iran would do that.
Of course, Iran will do.
Yes, but this is why I do not understand what is Trump doing there. Can't he see that?
What have they been doing? You got to analyze the history of, let's say, United States. What have they done in the last 5-6 years? Have they ever gone in a peaceful way to any of those countries and sit down as friends and exchange what they needed or what they wanted in a peaceful way? Or have they gone in and bombarded it to smothering to get what they want? You have seen the last video from what the guy said to the senator in the United States from Iraq. They went in and they pumped, I do not know the figures anymore, so much huge amount of oil, gold, other resources. They have just gone in and taken charge of whatever was belonging to Iraq with the false pretense it wasn't even there, what they used as an excuse to go in.
Yes,
So,
but they cannot do with Iran, and they know. So why do they try this? Because they position themselves out of all the other of the community of other countries. So why are they harming themselves?
what did Mr. Keshe explain 2 weeks ago? If there is a need for bullies to be stopped, we are not going to stop them, they're going to stop themselves, right? If you go back to the teaching about the earthquakes, about the shift, the natural, whatever, he explained it very into detail. He already mentioned it there, that call back your planes and your ships because you're going to need them, because you will be kept so busy to save your own. Don't touch Iran. So I don't know, does that have to happen for a bully to be able to be stopped? If there is all the warnings and all the invitation and all the peace invitations are everywhere, the invitations are everywhere to come on the table as a friend on the table. Isn't it up to the Americans to start going against what they try to do? Because aren't we all responsible for where people are in certain positions? If we wish for that not to happen, if the majority of the souls say no to it, you think it's going to take place? I don't think so, because we have proven through our wishing that we are bringing the change. So do we have to call up or make a call up to the American citizens to stand up, to accept the peace?
or even make a call up to all of us, because it doesn't matter whether I live in USA, to have my consciousness on peace.
Yeah, you can choose, but our wishes have gone to certain targets because they need that specific energy to make that change impact much faster. We've seen the results from it. If we can stop a war in Togo, and we can change the whole thing in Australia, and then we have seen so many other events that we have changed the path. That's why I brought the topic up. You already have the answer why they want to go into Iran. They are used to that behavior. We go and we take what we want. Apparently, that's the attitude. But we as knowledge seekers, we can change those conditions, or at least give the energy field strength to it, but not only for, let's say, President Trump. Why don't we work for all the US citizens? And on top of that, the Israelis, because they're working together to make the path easier to get into Iran. And apparently Egypt is also involved. So shall we concentrate and create that magnetical field strength to awaken that they can stand up and say no more? We don't want to be branded like this, that we are invaders and we destroy everything and we take what is not even belonging to us with whatever excuse. Then we elevate at this given moment. Not that we ignore anyone else, but will that not support the peace sitting on the table? If we can get it through, then the whole play out will change. The whole layout will change. If you remember that President Trump straightway signed that they are no longer respecting the agreement with Iran, then you have seen how Europe has repositioned itself to work with Iran, to find solutions. Because the Americans took the jobs, but they didn't take the respect of the contract.
Yes, thank you very much.
We can be the change, but I think we have to release a massive field strength towards these, whoever is involved. It's not Iran that we have to bring on the peace table. They are already there. They are a peaceful nation. They never gone for the last 300 years out of their way to create war or have war.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello, everybody. It's Mehran. I just, it was in the news, in internet, that the Iranians showed that the arms, American arms, don't work. Without saying it, the Americans have thought of, if Persian Gulf is closed, they find a way from east side of Bahrain to the west side of Bahrain. So some mysterious force attacked the boats without making any damage. And secondly, so that part is gone, that solution. Secondly, they had thought if there's a problem in the Persian Gulf, from the east side of Saudi up to west side, they have a pipeline and they keep it safe, so there would be no problem, even though it's a war or something. They have this line pipeline safe. And yesterday or 3 days ago, the Yemenis sent the missiles more than 800 kilometers at least, without saying anything, without making noise. And they attacked just in 2 of these places on this pipeline without killing anybody. And they have the best anti-aerian missiles of Americans, and they didn't see it. And Iranians didn't say anything. Nobody was killed. And since 3 days ago, Mr. Trump is asking to talk to Iranians. But I don't think they want to talk to him because they don't have confidence. They never told the truth. They never respected their engagement. They even tore the paper of the last contracts. Mr. Trump tore the contract, and Iranians were very, it was sudden, and they were disappointed by this lack of respect and confidence. So I think Iranians don't want to talk to him. And there is a noise, I think, in CNN that people make fun of Mr. Trump. They say, they don't want your number. Send the number of Melania. Maybe they would call. So for the moment, he has asked for days to be called. And I don't think they respect his promise anymore. So the Iranians did what they had to do without killing anybody. But they showed they can attack the pipeline and the other choice they have. So they have no ado, they have no winning card anymore. Because the Yemenis have been helped by Iranians when they were attacked by Saudi. So it's part of their service. So Mr. Trump doesn't want to do any more war, seems like that. Thanks God. So I think we made it. We all of a sudden the thing changed in a few days, in my opinion. And that gives a lot of confidence that the good souls together are making things happen. I'm absolutely sure of it. So, and I think Mr. Trump wants to do a war, not because he's a bad person or whatever. He just wants his percentage of the contract. Also, those who want to do the war, they just want whatever they can gain because of the contracts of destroying and also constructing, because they get money both ways. So we'll see what happens.
Can I add something, Myrna, to what you're saying?
Please.
When the relief vessels from Iran went into Yemen, Mr. Keshe said they could have made any excuse they wanted to, that they were carrying weapons, whether they were or they weren't, and attacked these ships. But he said they don't touch because they know if they touch, Iran will touch more. So that might be a confirmation of what you're saying there.
Yeah, even with the pipeline. And I wonder how come the missile, anti-aerian missiles of Saudis, they didn't see these missiles.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, advanced technology.
They didn't see it, and they didn't make any damage of person or whatever. So amazing.
That is exactly my point, Menas. Why could they not see it? Because they're working with Mr. Keshe's technology. Remember the two planes which passed by US Navy and 12 captains resigned because it was a bad top. It wasn't functioning anymore, out of nowhere.
That's right.
Iran has shown the beauty of it without harming anyone. Nobody died. A single soul or a single human being has lost his life with it.
And if I might add, Carolina,
Sure.
didn't Mr. Keshe, hasn't Mr. Keshe put a sort of caveat on to getting this advanced space technology? And hasn't he sort of, well, let's say laid a trap in a way, as you would say in a chess position where you would capture the queen? In other words, what I'm saying is one of the conditionalities, as I understand it, is you must join the BRICS nations. It's tied into the BRIC nations. And the other caveat is that Mr. Keshe said, I believe the countries are going to have to sign the World Peace Treaty to get the advanced space technology.
Yes, everyone who's coming on board, it is, how do you say? It's mandatory that they have to sign the World Peace Treaty. So we know from Europe that Italy has started, then Austria, then Switzerland. I do not know if there are any more countries coming or getting added to the list. The whole beauty is that we can create a wish for it to go, because Mr. Keshe explained to the Americans on a serviette, on a napkin, he said, how they captured the drone. So the Americans are more than aware of the capabilities of Iran. They're just getting invited to come as a peaceful part on the table. The same with Israel, the same with all the countries. To come and sit down and talk peacefully and sort it out. Instead of wasting billions and God knows what, how many on war material invested into the new knowledge, they will progress much faster. And we can support that wish of Mr. Keshe. To create the condition that they will show the color of peace. Two very important nations have to come on the table.
And also, excuse me, and also there is a belt, there is a way from China, which is going probably, which would pass Iran to Syria, to the Mediterranean water. And probably with that, Iran would be a big country with a strategic point, with the belt, with the road belt, road of China, Silk Road.
Yeah, the One Road, One Belt project.
One road, one belt.
One belt, one road.
which comes from China, and probably it would go to Pakistan, probably to Iran, I'm not sure, and Syria, and to the Mediterranean water. So the Chinese are behind that also. I mean, the Chinese are probably behind Iranians as peaceful nation. The thing is, how could they have confidence on this Trump administration? That's the problem. They can easily tear down all this pacts or whatever agreements. What's the guarantee this time they won't do that?
Because Mr. Keshe works on soul level. If they don't respect the agreement on the soul level, Mr. Keshe has put the warning out.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope very much so.
It's not hoping, it's a fact. I asked him quite a few times. He says, I don't look at the physicality, I work on soul level. It's the totality of the humanity on soul level that has decided to make this change. And the souls which are responding are the knowledge seekers. That's why knowledge seekers are coming in more and more. More souls are getting elevated and have been elevated to the level of their understanding so that they're coming on the table to learn more. That's why the knowledge seekers, the amount is growing so fast. The souls are getting touched. So the physicality is taken by the hand through the souls, and the souls are bringing them into the place where they should be. Remember what Mr. Keshe said. Syria is the last war ever. There will be no other war. That was the last one. We won't see war anymore. And we all know that Iranians are very good chess players, so they know their strategy and they're not born yesterday.
In fact, the Americans spent $17,000 billion on Iraq. They didn't even win on Iraq. They didn't even win on Afghanistan. Like they had recently asked the Taliban, which is a branch, it's not even the government of Afghanistan, please help our forces not to be attacked until we leave this country. The same in Iraq. They asked Iranian, a famous chief of Sepah, please help us that the groups who do the riot in Iraq don't attack us. So Iran is helping the Americans secure in Iraq until they leave. So they were nowhere, and they spend a lot of money. They spend a lot of money, and Iranians didn't spend that money, but they have a lot of respect in Iraq now. When they go in, even though they are Sunni, the chief of rebellions and defending country over there, Hashd Sha'bi, they respect the chief of Sepah in Iran. He says, I'm the soldier of him. So Iranian, without spending a lot of money, kind of they got respect and honor in Iraq, which is Sunni. The same in Yemen. I think the same in Syria, because they asked them to do the contract and they are still not doing that. So they didn't spend that money, but these countries are ready to help Iraq with respect. So America didn't win really anywhere of any of these countries, not even Afghanistan. So with what budget they are going to start another scenario which goes nowhere. I think people in America should ask their Congress, what are you doing with our tax money? How much does it come to our pocket? Instead of going to the pocket of the elites who make the contract for destroying and creating. Instead of watching the shows, which is called news, because I've rarely watched the CNN, things like that. Very, very rarely in airports or whatever. And they put the young, very cute girls with nose operated or whatever. Like they use a star, it's like a star academy. They don't put the real people who know politics. It seems like that. I said maybe they watch TV, journal, news just to see these beautiful girls, sexy, beautiful girls, to speak about politics. So I think it's people have to ask their Congress. That's my tax, my tax. What do you do for my children, for their education, for the old people, which is more legitimate than going 1,000 kilometers away and spending money without going anywhere.
Okay, thank you, Mariners.
You're welcome.
That is one of the reasons, thank you, Mernas, that by supporting the majority, that they can start standing up, that they know they get the confidence to ask these questions. They're trying to put them to sleep with whatever, but it's a wake-up call. And we can create that wake-up call. And Mr. Keshe never considers the physicality. He always considers on soul level. It's the soul which he counts on. It's the soul which makes the contract and respects it. And if not, then we all know that the correction starts taking place. But if you have the majority of the world, even on governmental level, on the table with these kind of negotiations, and especially with the space program, United States cannot be the enfant terrible, as we say, because the others will in totality respond to it. But we can boost that field strength among the Americans, that they know where they stand. We can give that support. We have had a wish in that sense, which was given by Flint. Maybe we should read or go through that wish again and see if it is still standing in its full strength as the way we created it that time. That is a beautiful overview, Rick. If it is you who's handling this paper.
Yeah, I've just got it up from the KF Wikipedia.
It's gorgeous.
And this is the setup now, so you can actually review the public wishes by year and by month.
Yes, thank you
That's
to
a
Andreas.
lot of work has gone in there. Thank you very much.
Sorry, what'd you say, Flint?
For
I could
whoever
barely
has-
hear you there.
I said thank you to Andreas for doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a
Andreas,
lot of work. And we
Is
have
it
a list of,
Andreas Fogger.
Yes.
yes, I believe so.
That's a beautiful job.
And we see also the list of all the 1N, 1P, 1R recordings up to the 74th.
Yeah. And if you click on one, they're on their own page and can watch it there or watch it on YouTube.
Can you post the link of the where people can find and then go through it?
Oh, you have to be not in edit mode.
Yeah, I just discovered that.
You can post it in Facebook and Streamline and live stream.
So just the public wishes, you mean, link, which should be
You didn't change anything, did you?
I started to put in a new
Oh, you should save changes then before you edit. I believe.
yeah, one thing that happens is there's no space in between. I can't put spaces in, so.
Yeah, we have to edit the code to do that. It's not hard.
Can you find that wish from Flint?
I would have to look in a different way, I think,
Just
in my-
search search the wiki for my name. It'll come up.
Maybe this is it.
It's beautiful to see all this work that we already all together have achieved. It's amazing. And it starts falling all into beautiful place and reference and search engines. It's absolutely, please people take the link and just post it on your social media. People will start picking it up and bring their wishes on the table. And thank you, Peggy, for sharing the link.
Most welcome always, Carolina.
Okay, there it is. So we have from the United States of America and its territories. My wish is that military personnel and associated weaponry and equipment located anywhere in the world from all the branches of the U.S. military are recalled back to the United States and decommissioned or converted for peaceful applications only. That was from Flint in March 13th of 2018. Then we came up with a modified one after that. Pardon me?
Yeah, can you read the last one?
Okay, it says,
Can you enlarge the letters, please? I am on my phone and I can barely. They are so midget.
can you see now?
A little bit more.
That's as far as it goes.
That's good. Thank you.
Okay, it says the military budget is applied in a transparent manner to educate and serve all beings inhabiting the United States of America and its territories, to serve as peaceful teachers, thusly elevating the education and well-being of all humanity. And from President Trump, June 12, 2018, no more war games. They are too expensive. We will be stopping the war games, which will save us a tremendous amount of money. I think it's very provocative, Trump told reporters. Under the circumstances, we are negotiating a complete deal. It is inappropriate to have war games. Number one, we save money a lot. Number two, it is really something they very much appreciated. Donald Trump from Flint in March 2018.
Yeah, that wish is still standing.
Okay, well, we've got Peggy who might be able to speak now about her location changes and what she had in mind for that. Peggy, is there anything that you wanted to say about that?
Hi, Carolina. Hi, Rick. Carolina, when we were speaking earlier of the Earth changes, you know, her natural, what just needs to occur for her to rebalance. I was thinking here locally, where I live. I'm very in tune with the changes in nature. I guess I'll put it that way. And so I'm aware of the cycles that this area goes through. And historically, for example, in the 80s, 1980s, we had what they categorize as the 100-year flood. And that one, at that time where I live, and it's maybe, it's not a long drive, it's to the freeway from where I live. This area was completely underwater. The water had risen all the way as high as the freeway, which actually goes over the area. So historically, according to, the local university information and the geologists and hydrologists and all of those professionals, we are well behind what is called the 1,000-year flood. And when you look at the FEMA flood maps and things, they have been redrawn so many times in the last 20 years. And to this point, giving the false, false impression to people who are new to the area and have no memory of the history, even, 30 years ago, that the freeway is a levee system. And for a 100-year flood, it was not a levee system, and it's the same freeway. And so with the redrawing, but with the anticipation and the knowledge that we're overdue historically for what is considered a 1,000-year flood, a much more severe flood. To think that that would hold in a much larger situation is unrealistic in any form. So I live in a basin, and so everything would run to fill in the basin, and that's nature. So for me, knowing the additional changes that are coming, and I'm watching them, where I live, I should be in the 90s. I'm sitting with a jacket on because in an area not too far from me, they actually went into freezing overnight. I believe their low was 32 degrees, which is right at freezing Fahrenheit. So for me to be having a high of 70 degrees when I should be in the 90s, it's quite obvious the changes. And I've shown in different classes because I am in the private classes. And even I think in one of the testimonials, Rick, the odd weather that I've been having with having hailstorms and very, very strange weather here. So from the standpoint of these upcoming changes, I do want to put my information out there. I'm in Arizona, in the state of Arizona, in the southern part. And I'm in the USA, and I am looking to relocate some form or fashion in a very orderly fashion because I have knowledge. Now, I had presented a wish. Actually, if I can rewind all the way back quite some time ago, I had had a wish for what I at the time called the Keshe Foundation Preserve and Visitor Center. And, I look to folks like Frederic and definitely Ursula from the Spanish group, which is so funny because she's in France, but she's in the Spanish group. She's a marvel. But I look to what they're doing. And the oases, they have been made manifest. So I have a new wish. I wish for Keshe Foundation mobile centers. And of course, being from the US, I know the US best, but I know this could work globally, where we have a group of people that have campers, RVs, small RVs, so that they're still maneuverable, but still habitable. And they can go to the areas. For example, in the USA, there's a lot of what we call working homeless. And even though they have jobs, full-time jobs, they still can't afford to live in their own communities anymore. So they've moved into campers, or what they call tiny houses, which are very small, similar to a shed. So there's so many different camps, and there's campgrounds for those who, again, can go that route. And I was just thinking how nice it would be to be able to have mobile, the Keshe Foundation mobile centers, and these folks could, be in their home environment in these motor homes, but yet they could be visiting with these people and teaching the technology and just sharing the knowledge. So that's my wish for some Keshe mobile centers, some Keshe Foundation mobile plasma technology centers. You call it, Carolina. Thank you.
Well,
Thank
thank
you
you.
very much. Yes, Rick.
Go ahead.
What were you about to say?
I was just thanking Peggy for her wish.
Yeah,
I wonder
a lot of people will, because of circumstances, will go on a mobile road, independent, and you will be like a moving oasis system. So that will be nice, because the minute you start nano coating and carrying and producing your gases, your mobile home becomes a oasis, a moving oasis system. And if it is on old fuel, don't forget to put some CO2 gas water in your fuel tank.
Oh,
And
yes, I will be checking with John since he's only about 100 miles from me at the Arizona Keshe manufacturing. So most certainly I'll be finding out from John and some of the others like Vernie. You brought up Vernie earlier. Most certainly, that when the wish comes to manifestation as the Keshe Foundation Preserve and Visitor Center oasis that has made manifest many places now, this I know will manifest quickly. And so, yes, most certainly when it manifests for me personally, then I will be there to support it, and I'll be talking to John in a hurry up if it has gasoline. And, uh, thank you, Carolina, for everything that you and Mr. Keshe do.
you're welcome. Ask John if he has a karmagraph. If it is because I suggest to take an old mobile home, less computers, less complication to fix the car yourself in case of need. You can always find easier spare parts and work on the car yourself if you're financially not having the luxury to do whatever you like. And secondly, it is not wise to use, or it's no use to put a karmagraph in a computerized car, because it dumps its fuel because it's been ordered to do so. It's been computerized to do so. So you cannot interfere with that. So the older and stable the mobile home is, the better. The older the cars are, I think Mr. Keshe has given a certain date, all the cars produced before a certain year are okay. After that, forget about it. You cannot interfere with the dumping of the fuel. And a lot of people are not aware of that. So keep that in mind. And the less computers you have, the less headache you have, the more you can fix and repair yourself.
Exactly. And these newer ones, they have these, I think they call them sliders or pop outs. And I've been researching these smaller motorhomes for over a year now and not really knowing why, but knowing that, I had this pull to move anyway. But not really putting all the pieces together, even though Mr. Keshe has been saying this for over 3 years. Hello. I finally woke up, good morning, and realized that all this research I've been doing, I can put this to work with the foundation as well, sharing what I've been, looking at. And so, the first thing when I've called to even talk to people to learn more about them, the first thing I tell them is I do not want anything that is new. And I do not want anything that is has those slider things, because that's just one more thing to have to repair. I'm thinking you're driving down the road. If you want to slide these things in and out when you're stopped, they're going to vibrate when you're driving, even though they're closed. It's just something else to break. So I agree wholeheartedly. Keep it very simple, but functional. And for over here, I would suggest even adding solar panels to lessen the use of any kind of gases to boost the internal power usages that that anyone would do. So just some more suggestions for those that want to pick up this concept and run with it, or drive with it, so to speak, or fly with it, put plasma, make it into whatever you need. Love to see them everywhere. Thank you, Carolina.
I've seen I've seen it a lot in Italy, but I've seen it recently on a complete wall was covered with, the tubes from bicycles. And somehow they are just passed over a plastic tube with about 5 centimeter, or the size of the tubes you can find, even old tubes from old bicycles. The reason they are putting them over the plastic pipe and then attach them to the walls is that they attract heat. So whenever it's sunshine, you get your warm water for free. You can even put a simple hand pump on it, and you can have your own hot water supply without using any electricity. And you can just, it's like a snake. It just gets folded up and attached with the span banners, zip strips, we call them. You can use anything you like. But if you cover your whole roof, whenever there's sunshine, you can tap into whatever is in there, and it can become very hot. You have a continuous hot water supply.
Yes, and here that's very easy to do under historical, the way the weather used to work, is, we will hit somewhere between 110 and 116 degrees for our high temperature in the height of our summer before the monsoon starts. That's what the energy that kicks the monsoon season into gear, historically. But the temperatures, they get so hot, people say, oh, I can fry an egg. Well, that's very true. You can cook. I use cast iron pots and pans. My skillets and my pots are cast iron, and I can sit it out in the sun, and I can boil water. I can make rice. I can heat food if I wanted to. Just in the sun, in the course of the day, if you have an area that will stay unshaded, just by that. So absolutely, here we have to, they call them pool noodles. There's some type of floating things that are long that people put into pools, and here we cut them, and that's what we put around the pipes, because I keep myself well supplied with plastic jugs, because when I want cold water in the summertime, I actually have to run the cold water, for a very long time, because it comes out almost scalding, almost like 200 degrees. If the pipes aren't wrapped, it's the, because the extreme of the heat. So you're absolutely right. I mean, somebody wanted to put those black inner tubes from the bicycles That's great. That would definitely even intensify the heat that they would get. Now, I'm extreme where I am generally, but you know, in a cold climate, it would draw that energy in. That's beautiful. Thank you. Very good tips, because you know, who knows what climate I'll be moving to. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody, any more sharing? Or things that people should keep in mind? You can even do it against the wall of your house.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, go ahead, Dean.
Peace be with everybody. I'm going to declare something to begin with. I always start from the soul, and that's where I've worked most. And from the soul, being an artist, I get to create. Blank canvases, my favorite thing to work with. I'm going to start with Peggy. I'm just finishing up a project which is absolutely beautiful. It's a tiny house. My next project, I'm ordering a HEPA filter, and I'm taking a 24-foot, I think it's 24, maybe 21-foot motorhome or fifth wheel, turning it into a laboratory. I'm putting solar in, and I already have the hot water and everything. And so that wish of yours is coming to pass. Now, the reason I'm putting in a laboratory is for working with fungus. And the reason I'm doing it is because I can take and put a food crop together in about 30 days from beginning to harvest. And I live in the central San Joaquin Valley. And right now I have a coat on, and I, like you, it should be hot. We're having rain and a river, and you know, I've been praying for the people up in the high Sierras doing their backpacking thing, because it's cold, it's miserable up there for them. It's cold here. And we're the fruit and, you know, vegetables. If you got it on your plate, you know, you probably, part of it came from our valley. And there could be major problems with food. And I live in the physicality. I work in the spirit. But in the physicality, I can do a lot with food, because if there's sawdust or whatever, I can turn it into food. Now, I'm a physical being, and sometimes it's hard, right? Because I know how to put the touch of creation into something and then see it bloom and prosper. And anyway, I just want to let you know that I'll be up and mobile. I'm finishing, like I said, my little project here, which has been a big project. And then I start with a laboratory, and that laboratory will fulfill your particular desire or your wish. Now I'm going to give some input. I looked at solar panels. You were talking about solar panels. Well, solar panels, I saw them 350 watts. They were used, but in good condition and working for $50. And I saw this through, I think it was Facebook, but Craigslist. If you want to start getting something together, start going into the free, put your wish out there. You're most likely going to be able to find yourself some type of trailer or something like that, either for very inexpensive or for free. Where we're going to move, I don't know. Now, I have some different locations around the country that we're looking for putting in communities. when we put in communities, right? If we're stuck in the physicality, and we're having to put up structure, those structures are, we're going to print them, we're going to put it together, we're going to put it together where it is, where it can handle the elements that are there within 1,000-year flood plain. But, I'm waiting for us to be able to be in the cities that are levitated, or, those things that I've seen in my spirit. Anyway, I've talked enough. Just letting you know that the laboratory should be in and up and running, I would say in a month from now, because I have 2 weeks commitment. But then, that desire of yours has been fulfilled. Now I'm going to just say one other thing. Because I've worked in the spirit and I listen to the words. And from the words that I hear, the man Trump has said he does not want the military-industrial complex to continue. And we're in a civil war here in the United States in order to bring about Flynn's desire or wish that I was part of. And no matter what happens or is happening, I know that I was part of the peace treaty. I was part of the wishes. And I work in the spirit. And that spirit is creating a condition of peace, and through the words that I have spoken and the agreement of those who are present, these things are happening. Our wishes have been granted. And just like the wish for having the mobile cash centers, you probably know how to get a hold of me, I guess, as I'm putting this thing together. I'll I guess, take pictures. I'd like to take pictures. And with that, I'm going to say thank you for allowing me to put my wishes, desires, and be part of the fulfillment of some of the wishes and the desires that have been brought forth. And with that, in creation, go forth in peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dean. Make a wish, and poof, the universe provides. And I didn't even put CO2, ZNO, and CH3 in the palm of my hand yet. You are a wonder, my dear brother. Thank you, Dean. I will reach out to you.
Oh, you bet. And you know what? This is, see, I get to manifest these things, but I am a creator in canvas and digits and arts. And these are the things that I get to bring forth that create the ability for the physicality to continue in form, because that's part of it is food. And then it's, working with the earth and all those other things. But the thing that I get to do that thrills me the most is take all of the collaborative energy that has ever come forth, because I work on a canvas. I'm working on a canvas. I have the people who made the canvas, grew the wood, did the paints, mixed the colors, and all of that, right? This huge collaborative universe that's behind me. And I have a blank canvas, and I have a color: red, yellow, blue, black, and white, and water, and some type of thing, even if it's my fingers, in order to put that pigment upon that canvas. Well, upon that canvas, then and I work in abstraction and color. And when that comes, right, your mind gets to take and be free in order to create out of what your experiences are of that. And then from that, right, it opens doors in your mind and your spirit that then you get to start creating through.
Excuse me, Dean. I need to get you to fix your microphone. It's rubbing against something there, and it's causing a lot of noise in the background. It's hard to hear what you're saying.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, this may
rubbing
be
on your shirt or something. A friend suggests it's rubbing on your shirt, or you're playing with the microphone or something. It's very noisy.
Okay, it was probably hitting against my shirt, and boy, I have deal with a lot of conference calls working on these projects, and the thing that I have more trouble with than anything is my audio. Anyway,
you might want to get a different setup that's easier for you to handle, so that you have nice, clear connection. Because your voice is good and it's coming through loud, but it's just there's a lot of noise.
Okay, yeah. Well, and see, usually I'm working, and that's why I try to grab something that gives me an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm a performing artist, right? It's like every day I create, and anyway, that's just. But boy, my creations are gorgeous, and, not by my standards, but by everybody that I hear. You say, "Oh, I like that." So
Dean,
anyway, yes,
it's Peggy again. I just want to say yes. Your paper art is so quick and so beautiful. I remember when you made me the flying purple heart out of the purple paper, and you did it right there on the screen. Poof! It was in one of our meetings. It was so beautiful. So once again, I say thank you.
Okay. Well, I can't wait. This stuff is coming out. My work is coming out, and I'm putting it on different things because I've done so much of the creation, but I just couldn't get my heart into the transfer of the creation into a fiction and then back into something that sustains me. That whole monetary system. Oh, by the way, one of the reasons that I have authority is because with my heartbeats, because I've been an artist and I've been a creator, but I have not taken part of the monetary system as far as exchanging my heartbeats for money that then gets taxed for over 20, almost 25 years. There has never been a heartbeat of mine that went into the production of munitions or into the military complex. So, when you have things, it gives an authority that I have to say, no, I didn't support it and I still don't. You can't do it. Stop it. My wish is you stop it. I didn't have to support it, so you stop it. Anyway, with that, I'll see. Peace be with you. I'm going to go back and build my shelves right now. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you very much. Okay, do we have anyone else that would like to go forward?
I was just going to ask Carolina what she thought about that. Make a wish and poof, the universe provides. That was amazing to me.
Caroline, one of the things that will be and can be produced in my laboratory is a fungus that produces a fruit body that digests plastics.
Yes, but it doesn't give you water. I am going after what Mr. Keshe's system is providing the people which have this kind of problem. The waters are contaminated and a lot of other headaches. I prefer to have the blueprint of applying the knowledge. Not that it would not work, but I'm looking, especially for the people which are going to be short of water, that they can use this knowledge to convert and to create water.
Oh, there's no reason to be short of water. Well, I don't. The technology is already there. It's so simple. That's not a problem. I mean, it's just a thing of implementing. The technology's there. It's been there for decades. And to get enough water to sustain physicality and grow carbon uptake, vertical brothers, it's already there. The only reason we don't have this stuff out is because there's been something that has held back the funding of creation of this stuff. Anyway, I don't mean to, but no, it's already there. It's already there. And it can be, and like getting water, if you have a heat differential and you have any moisture in the air, you can get water out of that, distilled water, naturally, without any what do you call that? Without any electricity. Yeah, I got to make some diagrams just to show how, the ways of nature go that we get to harvest in our physicality. I want to see the plasma technologies brought forth, to expand. But heat differential, you can get water out of it, you can get energy out of it. There, the Stirling anyway. I'll have some diagrams. I've been busy, but I keep on drawing. So this is something that'll I'm putting together some blueprints. Have a lot of building ahead. Anyway, but really, for the water, I got. Send me a question. What do you want? How do you want it? Where do you want it? And then it's just a matter of implementation. And if it's, anyway, I just want to see it done. I know how to do it, and others know how to do it. We just have to coordinate so that we can walk in it.
Okay, Carolina, do we need to put down something in writing here for today? Let's see if I can get back to that.
How would we wish it? We are the creators. Let's put them on the table of negotiations. Anybody from the council wants to start the wish?
Hi, I'm Dan from Romania. I thinking, Caroline, when you say invite all the people, human beings, no? It's saying the peace Tratat of Peace. It's like an invitation from dinner in the beautiful restaurant where you needed to have the, how to say, appropriate attitude and clothes, no? You don't enter inside when you are not have the suits. It's I thinking it's also like a train ticket when you invite the other nation with through the soul, through the right attitude. I don't know how formulate, because when you are peaceful, you are invite everybody in the table in same manner with the hands, I don't know, with open heart. And this wish you not you want, it's for American people again, or from all being in this planet or universe. I know I am the creator.
Thank you. You just give me an idea. Is the transcription done from the last teaching from Mr. Keshe? What is his wish?
The last wish. From the knowledge seekers or from the one planet, one race, one nation?
No, from Mr. Keshe's last Thursday morning teaching, the knowledge seekers. Does anybody have access to the transcript? And can you find the expression where how Mr. Keshe expressed himself with that wish? Because then we will be in line with Mr. Keshe. Flint, do you have access?
I'm looking right now.
As it was Mr. Keshe's wish, I think we can repost this wish and give our soul to it, our support. Then it will not become a complicated how to put the wish, but we will be in direct line of the wishing of Mr. Keshe. We'll give you some minutes to do the research. I know you have to go and open it and then find the It would be nice if you set up the chat room to inform me, then I can provide you with the picture and the title for that room. And we can start sharing, like Dean just did, good ideas, where you can obtain material, where you can travel to, or even stopping points where other knowledge seekers are, that you can recharge or have nice time while you're traveling through. And maybe put a roadmap out so knowledge seekers can follow you live where you are and what your progress is in your journey. And then we can obtain that and put it in the wiki so it become a common knowledge for people to track or traveling knowledge seekers on their journey and make diaries of it. And then the knowledge seekers can look out and see if you're going to cross their path and create awareness that way. What do you think? That might be a good idea? very quiet.
Yep.
Who was that?
That was Mark. Was Mr. Keshe's wish in the teaching, or was it in the question and answer session?
I don't know.
I think we're all trying to find the exact wish. I think that's why we've gone quiet on you, Carolina. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, we've got an auto translation of the 276 Knowledge Seekers Workshop. I'm going through it as well, and I'm not sure where the actual wish is in there.
Oh, he expressed it. We are putting the hand out of peace, he said. That was the start. I think this is the third time the hand of peace has been put out. Not only to United States, but also to Israel. But while you're all doing your searching, I know that you're listening. Maybe a lot of you travelers, mobile travelers, as knowledge seekers, to do this kind of road mapping and small videos, and exactly what Ursula is showing in her Oasis system. You become a mobile Oasis system, and you can broadcast, and wherever you pass, you can spread your energy, you can leave it behind, you can share it, you can let us know how your journey is. And then other people might pick up good ideas, because I don't think it's only gonna be people that will be only moving from the United States. There are more countries which will be affected by it. So we can create a beautiful follow-up.
I have one offer to you. Would it be the international agreement Mr. Keshe is saying he wants on borders? Nations to reach an international agreement on borders?
No,
okay.
It's not that one. That's a different wish. That's a different topic. We are talking between the tensions of United States, Iran, and Israel. I think he had 2 or 3 expressions like this.
Well, he wants them all together in the same location in China to have a live demonstration of the technology. And that, what will that show is that your current weapon technology is obsolete, because they want the ambassador to sign a paper, and in 5 minutes that paper will be in Washington, D.C. And if the ambassador doesn't mind, Mr. Keshe said that they'll take his soul from China to Washington too, if I understand it correctly.
Well, that's the thing, Mark. We need the exact spot in the video where this occurs. And he talks about it for probably over an hour in the video. And we need the exact wish from Mr. Keshe so that we can confirm that.
3 hours, 20, no, 3434 minus 10 seconds. 3 hours, 45, 48 minutes and 48 seconds. When I invite the head of state, perhaps I can, I don't know. I listened again and I say minute and second from workshop. I am closer.
The other wish he repeated a number of times was no one will be cold, no one will be hungry, and no one will be without a structure.
Maybe a good idea, especially for travelers, pardon, especially when you carry seeds and growing plants within your small space. I've seen a very beautiful solution for plants, especially for watering. And it was shown like, I do not know, a display. Students came up with that idea. They used old Baxters from the hospital and they filled them up with water. And because it has a regulator, you can literally put that plastic tube in your plants and hang it on a small hook above the plant and provide them with your plasma waters. You can drip it, you can decide how many drips it gets a day, but I thought it was a genius idea because they put the stands where the boxes was hanging, like in a hospital, but they posted plants instead of sick people. So that might be a good idea to collect some from the hospitals. You don't need the needles, you just need to refill the bag. And because you can hang them, it's a marvelous idea. Even for your animals, if you want to give them water that it doesn't vaporize when the heat comes, you can create a dripping system in a small container that the animals always can have some water. You're really having a hard time to find it, huh?
when every word that comes from Mr. Keshe is like a golden nugget. Yes, it's precious searching. We're looking. Thank you, Carolina, for the tip. And I did see that go past me as well. The plants being fed with the drip bags from the hospital. With the lines coming down, I thought that was great for the plants that are up high. And so thank you for reminding me of that. That was a good one. Thank you.
Yeah, even if you go for long periods of time, you can put 3 water bags. It's especially for the holiday makers. You can provide your animals with secure water.
I remember my aunt, she would put thick twine, or not twine, string, around some of her plants when she would go away for the weekend or something. And she would put one end into a cup on the shelf above it, like a little ball of it, of the string. She would just drop that part into the glass of water on the shelf, and then the string came down and it wound around the bottom of the plant. And then just under the dirt, she would just push the dirt and push it down. And that fed the plants while she was away. They could get the water as it needed it. And so little things like that I'm remembering back to as well. Little tricks like that are helpful.
Hello, everybody. How is my sound?
So far, so good. Ben.
Okay, good. Here is a thing that I use for self-watering. I take a 4-inch pipe that you use for drainage that is black and corrugated, and I cut into it holes that I can either drop down wicks or I can put soil over it, and then I put a valve like they use for evaporative coolers or for a toilet. And then when the water goes down in the tube, the valve opens, fills the tube, and the tube waters from the bottom, and it keeps a continual moisture content at all times through the entire growing bed. That's the way I do it when I don't want to have to water, which I go away quite often, and therefore if I don't have something that's doing it for me, it doesn't get done.
Okay, well, I'd like to complete some sort of wish that we started here earlier. Maybe that would be good to sort of wrap things up here as we go along. We had earlier, we confirmed the acceptance of the World Space Program is what I put in. could use some help to try to flesh that out more. I don't know if Mr. Keshe has a definitive wish that can be made into one sentence in that in the workshop. It is, the whole workshop's about his wish basically, and I'm not sure if we can find an actual point in the workshop that's going to be appropriate for the wish. But basically we have, as we've already talked about, some of the different aspects that we have the Chinese and Iranians together as that part, and then we have the invitation to the United States. Let's see, I had something written up. Let me see if I can find it.
I was going at the start of the wish, not all the explanation, but the start of the wish. He always starts with what he wants. And that is where the importance sits. I still remember that something in the region we invite United States. You got to pick it out of that, the words. I can't see it, so I can't look into it. You can compose the wish from the way he speaks the words. He already expresses it as a wish. Or maybe you can all look it up and bring it back next week, if the time is pressurizing. I thought that it would be easy to find. Even sentence that the invitation we wish or we invite, etc., on the table to, that is already the wish upon itself. I was going after that. Maybe we can play where he starts his conversation and we can just pick up the words from it. If it's too difficult to find it in the transcribing. If we listen to the wish, we will have a good idea how he's putting it together. Flint, do you have the
Yeah,
maybe
one more
the
minute.
clip, or Rick?
Yeah, just another minute.
We will
We
have a good
can start
idea
for
how he starts.
12 minutes in on the workshop, I guess, and just listen to it. I can show it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at around the 25-minute range.
Well, he actually starts before that, though, so that's, where do we start and end? That's the thing about it.
Dan put in the chat 48 minutes, just so you're aware, Rick, as well.
Okay, well, where do we want to start from here then? 48, 40, 12, 20, 40 have all been suggested. 28.
Well, it's going to be somewhere near the beginning.
Okay, I'll start from 12 then.
You can zoom in on your page there a little bit too.
Okay.
There we go.
Sort of worked. Okay, so the words won't necessarily be exact when you read the English. It's just the machine translation, so keep that in mind. I have to turn this down.
We don't need to listen to too much, otherwise we're going to lose the essence of the words.
Share sound.
Sorry, yeah, just a minute.
And then put the volume all the way up.
Up? Really?
Yeah, yeah, for Mr. Cash, yeah.
Are you sure? Okay, I'll try it. Let me know if it's too loud.
People have started testing each other. What do you think? What I think? Can you read? These are not the mind reading. These are understanding each other's souls. Can you feel my emotion? Then there's no numbers. There is no physicality. Can you see how I feel? Can you feel my feeling? And these all gradually become part of the understanding of the technology. Where we are taking the technology to the next step now is in the coming time, in the next few days, hopefully next week or two, we will announce a joint venture in respect to space travel. What we are trying to do and what will be achieved, this offer has been made to two nations, and jointly, hopefully, if it's accepted, confirmed, Keshe Foundation in conjunction with two nations will endeavor within the coming months to land on the moon. We have the technology and we have transferred the full technology into the Chinese nation. We are ready. An offer has been made directly to Chinese authorities that we are ready to test for flight, for landing, and within 12 months, live landing on the moon. Technology is within our grasp, and now we need the two nations of Iran and China jointly to develop this technology for its next phase as part of the development. The tools for this technology does already exist in both nations. This will be a joint venture and it will be headed by Keshe Foundation. We set out to land on moon within 6 months of the agreement, and within 12 months, live landing, which means the nations will become so powerful in space technology that what is the dream, the next step to Mars and beyond, becomes a natural process. Powerful nations like China and Iran in the space development show that there is no need for what is assumed to be rocket technology and the rest. We can land in Washington from Tehran within 10 minutes, and we can carry as many people as we like into any territory as peaceful and friendly gesture. This is how we take charge under control. Our offer to the Chinese government and to the Iranian government is clearly defined and it's been transferred. This is important for us because this brings us to the next step of development in what we call traveling without dimension and traveling with dimensions, which means gradually the scientists from both sides will start understanding how to develop technologies without the need to transfer physical dimensions. There is a lot of application into this, into agriculture, opens new dimensions of space technology, health, and material production. It has been a pleasure to make such a move by the Keshe Foundation, and you're all part of it. All of you, you can all become part of this space travel. How it's going to develop and how we can do it is very simple. Now that we understand the operation of the spaceship, and now that we can understand the operation of the physical dimension of the soul of the man, it's very much in what we explained before in the teaching. And if you go back in part of my teachings in the past, we always said that we trust the soul of the captain? Would we give our lives in the hand of another person? We don't mind doing our physical life.
I think that just caught that particular part. Maybe we could try one of the other spots. Dan said 48.
This is the beauty of the totality of the knowledge. We are not bringing something out of our sleeves. We are just now going in deeper dimension to understand that we can create the matter, we can control the energy. Does not matter you call it gold, you call it oil, or you call it the soul of the man. We are not fighting for peace. We are releasing so much technology that there is no need for warmongering. In the next few days, we'll make an official offer to the heads of the states of Israel and United States to join in the development of the space technology with the scientists from Iran. And if they want to see the power of the technology, we invite you to Beijing. And the peaceful administration of His Excellency President Xi.
Caroline was asking to stop there.
Yeah, you go back to the invitation. Is there any way that you can copy these words?
Yes, you can show transcript there, and highlight them.
We can turn this one very easy in the wish.
Caroline, I'm thinking what you say about the three nations to offer of peace, and I don't take in what Mr. Keshe is saying or what is wish of Mr. Keshe, and I research this passage of. It's okay, this passage.
I didn't fully understand what you meant.
I don't search the wish of Mr. Keshe. In this passage, it's about what talking early, about the offer peace to the nation, to the American. I continue research where Mr. Keshe saying.
It's gonna have to be more opened up because, as Rick said, it's about 2 or 3 hours. He's referring on several points and several. The most important thing is to put this wording that the invitation is going to go out, we establish the invitation is gone out from all of us. So we support the invitation. And then if people have time by next week, we can pick up more of the parts where Mr. Keshe is creating the wishes of peace and expressing himself. And then we can make more wishes in that light. But we can put this one with this wording exactly where he started, that the invitations will be sent out soon. We just take those words and we confirm them as they are already done, because we are part of it. We are part of the same inviting. So we add to the field strength of the invitation. And then next week we can work more out, because we're getting nearly to Q2. And we might be finished it before the time runs out, as we say.
Yeah, we'll have to work with, if we're going to do this, we'll have to work with the transcript, because the words are not even close to, well, they're close, but they're not the words that he's saying. So we have to do a corrected transcript. I think you mean from here where he says it's no need for war.
No, it's the point where he says the invitations will go out to the following countries. If you can play it again from there, it's a very short sentence, but
well, he mentions here we'll make official in the next few days. We'll make official offer to the heads of the State of Israel, the United States, to join in the development of the space technology with the scientists from Iran. And if they want to see the power of the technology, we invite them to Beijing and a peaceful administration of His Excellency.
We only need to go to the invitation, Rick.
Where is the invitation? What do you mean?
He says soon the invitation will go out here. We pick up to the following countries, and then he names them. Those names are important. And then the next sentence to show the peaceful application of the knowledge. That should be sufficient enough to conclude a wish that we support this invitation. So we add from our field strength to that wish.
Yeah, I'm just not sure where you mean. Do you mean this part here?
I cannot see it, darling, because it's too small.
In the next few days, we'll make an official offer to the heads of the states of Israel and United States to join in the development of the space technology with the scientists from Iran. And if they want to see the power of the technology, we invite you to Beijing. And the peaceful administration of His Excellency President Xi.
Is that the part you mean, or is there another place where that's said?
No. There is more beauty in what he's talking about, but we're gonna have to select them out, and that can be the next when the things are more clear. What I'm aiming about is to be present as knowledge seekers in the invitation towards Israel and the United States and joining with the Iranian scientists to share the beauty of the knowledge, peaceful matter, to make it easier for you. Knowledge seekers, I'm going to ask you to try to go through it and pick up the way Mr. Keshe is forming his words to create is like a wish, you know? It's something he is asking, requesting. That's the same as a wish. It doesn't need to come with the words as a wish. And then you can bring them on the table next week and we can work on them. Because if we emphasize what Mr. Keshe is creating, then we are only increasing the field strength of that creation. And this is what we want. We don't need to wish for no war and no this and no that. Our wish should be that we are in line with Mr. Keshe to bring them on the table. So we are part of the invitation as our field strength. That will be like a magnet to create that beautiful field strength, if you understand my point of creating this wish. It does not need to be complicated.
Okay, that sounds good.
We are present in the invitation towards Israel and United States to be part of the spaceship program for its peaceful applications to serve humanity. Something like that.
You typing that out?
No. Can you give that to me again?
You also switch the share over.
I did already, but it didn't switch for some reason.
You got a
There we go.
screen, Rick? Like you can get me sometimes.
Pardon me, a screen?
Yeah, I said you have a screen freeze like you sometimes screen freeze me.
Oh, it just doesn't switch over sometimes, even though you've clicked twice and turn around twice and say a prayer.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, so what can we put in here again? All I have is we confirm the acceptance of the World Space Program. That's not appropriate.
No, we knowledge seekers are present if I may speak for all of you. We knowledge seekers are present in just 1 second. It has to be correct. We knowledge seekers are present, inviting Israel and United States for a joint spaceship program meeting for its peaceful applications to serving humanity. But I had to allow you to go and do the search to make sure that that was what Mr. Keshe expressed himself, that those were the countries that he was referring. You see, you can create a wish which is so powerful with so little words. We knowledge seekers are present in inviting. You can remove in.
So other countries were mentioned. Palestine was mentioned, and the Arab states were mentioned as well.
Did you see that in Mr. Keshe's communication?
I remember that specifically. But that's, and then he invited all countries of the world as well to the meeting, so.
We are trying to overcome the problem kit between United States and Israel and Iran, because they're all three involved in this. And then we can elaborate next week by digging out more specific what Mr. Keshe has expressed himself in the invitations, and then make more wishes to establish them, if that is okay for you. But I think we need to make a bridge with these three countries very fast. Anybody, any ideas or suggestions?
Well, that makes sense to me. We can sit on it for a week and revise it next week.
So
probably a lot will go on in the next week. We might want to accommodate into this wish. And also, Mr. Keshe has hinted that there'll be an official invitation put out in the next day or two here as well. So we'll look forward to that as that we can more concretely form our wish around that.
I think this stimulation of field strength will give the kickstart, because we all wanted to see it very peaceful in a correct manner for humanity, because it doesn't matter, everybody will be involved if problems are breaking loose, and that is exactly what we don't want. So if you can read the wish again, please.
Okay, it says, we knowledge seekers are present, inviting Israel and United States for a joint space program meeting and its peaceful applications in serving humanity.
I am present.
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 Okay, thank you, everyone.
At least we start. We have given it a kickstart. And then please, knowledge seekers, go and dig out the beauties of invitation and peace offering from Mr. Keshe and the countries which are involved, so that we can create, and maybe we'll start with that topic next week. Thank you so much, team. If there is nothing else then to be shared or asked or questioned, we can close today's presentation, unless anybody wants to share something more. I took a screenshot from this wish, so it's definitely is going to go out. I will start sharing as soon as the meeting is over. And thank you, team, for a beautiful session.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you, Carolina. Thanks everybody for participating in today's 77th One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace for Tuesday, May 21st, 2019. So we wish you all the best, and connect with the Knowledge Seekers Workshop coming up on Thursday at the 9 a.m. Central European Time, usual time and place, as well as there's the Keshe Plasma Reactor Group at 7 a.m. on Wednesday, Central European Time. Okay, I think that's it for today. Thank you, Flint, for also hosting today. And thanks, everybody. See you next time.
We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. keshefoundation.org/donate.
Plasma products found at keshefoundation.org/store. Soothing, reusable plasma eye and migraine mask. Eliminate eye fatigue and relieve stress in eye area. European certified medical device. Massaging plasma insoles. Bring comfort back to your feet and energize your legs. European CE certified medical device. Antiseptic plasma liquid hand soap. Promotes well-being and relaxation with protective plasma formula. CE certified. One Soul Plasma T-shirt. GAN's formula within the symbols and stripes brings mind, soul, and body into balance. European certified. Pain Relief Pen. Emits a concentrated plasma field at point of pain, efficient up to 3 centimeters below the skin. CE certified. The Magrav's Energizer and Alkalizer raises pH and energizes water through magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Pain Relief Pad, a result of years of research in nanoplasma technology with magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Visit the online store at keshefoundation.org/store. or find a distributor near you. Tax and shipping not included.